Hey, this is Rod Santamassimo with the Massimo Show, and finally, I get to sit with the one and only world-renowned Beth Azor.
Oh my
Beth,
goodness.
welcome to the Massimo Show.
Rod, I'm so excited to be here. Don't build me up so much. We might have to let them down in the content.
No. There's no way I could under-promise and over-deliver because I know you will always over-deliver. Beth, I know you as this ultra successful commercial real estate investor, developer, broker, leader, teacher, coach, and so much more. But why don't you share with our audience a little about, in a really 30 seconds, who is Beth Azor?
So Beth Azor is a single mom of two teenage boys. I could really just stop there, as you can imagine. I own 6 shopping centers in South Florida. I've been having that company for about 15 years. In my spare time, I travel around the country teaching retail leasing agents how to fill vacancies in shopping centers. And I had an 18-year career from rookie to president with a company in Miami called Terra Nova, where we were the largest third-party service provider for shopping centers for institutional clients in Florida.
And it's fair to say, we'll get into this a little bit. And you're passionate. You have so many passions. I follow you on Facebook and LinkedIn. You have so many passions. But one of your passions is making sure that women also have the opportunities that you had to go out there and make a difference. Yeah, using commercial real estate as a vehicle. But tell us a little about that as well.
Well, I have always wanted to own my own real estate, and I had the blessing of working with a guy by the name of Stephen Vittel. He was the chairman of Terra Nova, and he came to me early on in my career as a young leasing agent. I was making, just starting to make 6 figures, and he kept saying, "Hey, we're going to invest in this deal. Do you want to invest?" And I would never have the money. I didn't have the discipline back then as a young leasing agent to put money aside to invest. And after the third ask, he literally dragged me by the neck to the local community bank, and he co-signed a note for me for $50,000 so I could invest in my first deal, which we ended up owning for about 23 years, sold a couple years ago to Kimco, and made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on that initial $50,000 investment. So I was blessed to have a guy like him. I want to help other people, not that I'm going to go co-sign a bunch of $50,000 notes, but in my last development where I bought a 1970s 2-story office building, we knocked it down and we just opened a Starbucks multi-tenant building. 4 leasing agents that I have known each put in less than $10,000 as one of my family and friends, because I want to give people a leg up. And without leasing agents, Rod, there would be no development, no shopping center owners. You have to have people who can bring the tenants to the deals. And but they rarely get the opportunity to invest and help grow their wealth. And I really want to help women and men, especially leasing agents, do that.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And I got to become part of that family and friends and invest with you, because I know you are so passionate about what you do. But let's talk about you and help the audience understand. I know you're a single mom, 2 boys. Let's go beyond that, though. Let's go back to when you were a teenager and you were in high school. Where were you living? And were you an entrepreneur back then? Did you have certain passions? Where were you back then?
So Flagler Beach, Florida, a small town between Daytona and St. Augustine. My dad was in residential real estate and sold lots in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for ITT, who had planned development in Palm Coast, which is right next to Flagler. So he took our family down to Flagler Beach when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school. We moved in April, and First, I was a flag girl. Then I was a cheerleader. I literally just found a newspaper article when they announced that I was the editor of the school newspaper. I posted that on Instagram and said, "See, I was putting out content back when I was 16. I worked. My parents, they owned, when we moved to Florida, my dad opened his own brokerage firm, and they also bought a motel on the beach. So every night I worked. My parents believed that when you turn 11, you start working. So I cleaned houses for my parents that, for their business. I cleaned motel rooms. I cleaned hair salons. Cleaning, I guess, was the easy job when you're a teenager. And then when I grew a little bit older, I sat at the front desk at the motel every night. I did my homework and then checked people in, a little, like a 20-unit motel on the beach in Flagler. So I was involved in everything, student council, just very, very active, but also worked and just loved life, loved living on the beach in Flagler. It was fun.
So did you head off to college at a certain time?
I did. I went to Florida State University. I wanted to go to be a Gator, but when I sent my 2 applications to Tallahassee and Gainesville said, "Congratulations, you're accepted, but you need to come in the summer." And then the next day I got the letter from Tallahassee that said, "Congratulations, you're accepted. See you in the fall." And I went, I'm going to be a Seminole. I wanted one last summer of fun. And I always tell young people, it really doesn't matter where you end up. It's what you put into it, not, it's really what you make of it. So I got to Florida State. I lived in a dorm. The second year I was an RA, so I became a leader in the dorm. And then I joined a sorority my junior year. And my senior year, I ran Greek Week for the campus. And again, doing my spring cleaning, now I'm finding all of these articles where I led the largest muscular dystrophy fundraising marathon at the school at the time, and I was getting all of these accolades. So I love being very, very, very busy and giving back to the community and having a lot of fun. I did end up in the hospital the last month of my senior year because I think I had like mono. So Florida State, I'm very involved with them now. I started their real estate foundation a few years ago, which was really exciting and neat, basically creating a Protect the Perimeter campaign for the campus, where we would stealth-wise go out and put properties under contract to protect and defend against the perimeter of the campus. So that was exciting and fun. And I've rolled off recently, so I started it and now other, smarter people can take it from here.
Oh, absolutely awesome. What total energy on your end. So when did the real estate bug hit you as far as a career? And tell me, take that initial stages of where you were.
So my parents used to get the calls in the middle of the night for the air conditioners in the condos that they were renting. And I used to say to them, I would never do what you do. Property management and real estate, yuck. My goal in life with my English literature degree and communications minor was to run the Olympics one day. I loved the logistics of planning events. So my first job out of school was for my sorority. I traveled the country. I was a chapter consultant and I visited campuses for 9 months and was involved in A to Z, recruiting, financials, suicide awareness, just everything was great. A great job, lived on the road for a year, didn't really make any money. And then when I came back to Florida, my boyfriend at the time lived in Miami. So I said, let me look in jobs in Miami. And I got a job as the special events coordinator at the Heart Association of Greater Miami. Loved that job. It was perfect for what I wanted to do. But I started making $11,000 a year, which for your younger audience would mean about 30 today.
Yeah.
So at 11,000 and all through college, I had gotten my real estate license when I was 18, because when you're in a family of real estate people, that's what you do. And during the summers of college, I would sit open houses for my parents and make a little, cha-ching commissions from them. So when I got the job making 11 for the Heart Association, I started doing the open house thing on weekends. So for 2 years straight, I'm at the Heart Association, loving my job. I went from 11 grand to 23 grand, so doubled my salary, loved my job. But I started making I think I was making $50 a weekend when I first started on the real estate gig. And then I started selling houses. So I was probably making about 10 grand, which was 50% of my full-time gig, selling like luxury homes in a development. And the American Heart Association executive director pulls me into her office one day and said, look, we love you, but your ambition exceeds us. Yes. I don't really make much more than you do, and I'm the executive director. You're kind of capped out. So why don't you go do the real estate thing full time and just volunteer for us and be on our board, which was unbelievable at the time that she thought about me versus the company. So I did that. I did a flip flop. And I did the real estate, because the real estate people were pushing me to come full-time anyway. So I did that. And I went from working 7 days a week to sitting in a trailer 5 days a week reading People magazines. And I just thought I was not going to, I was so unhappy, so unhappy. And then I met a woman who was helping us on Mother's Day weekend, who was a leasing agent for a shopping center developer, and said, you need to get into commercial real estate. I said, gross, that's selling land. That's more boring than this. No, there's this new thing, and it's called leasing. And you help people open bagel shops in grocery anchored shopping centers, and you become part of their life because you help them achieve the American dream. And they love you, and they'll invite you to every wedding, bar mitzvah, communion, baptism. I said, sold. I want that job. That just sounded great. And she goes,
okay, hold on. That was so important what you just said. I mean, it's so critical of how this young lady, this mentor, this initiator to your career, to what ended up in your life from a professional level, transformed a service into an actual, right? It was a transformation is what it was. What were you doing for others, the service you provided? And that's where a lot of us missed the boat, right? So people say, Rod, you're a coaching company. Like, no, that's not what we do. We don't coach people. We transform their lives to what they get where they want to get. You transform their lives and gain that American dream. Anyone out there listening, regardless of what you do, if you can't provide transformation and articulate it and prove it, you're going to be a commodity. So Beth has never been a commodity, by the way. Okay, Beth. So now you get this idea or this potential opportunity to lease. Continue, please.
So she says, you can't come work for my company because my boss's dad is your boss, and he'll be very upset. But there's this company down in Miami called Terra Nova, and they have a training program for people who want to be leasing agents. So I call up Terra Nova and I said, I hear you have a leasing agent training program. They said, we do. I said, well, who's in charge of that? They said, Donna Abood. And I said, Donna Abood from Florida State? They said, yeah, she went to Florida State. Rod, she was my sorority sister. There's no coincidences.
Not at all.
I call her up and she goes, Beth from Florida State? And I said, yeah. And she goes, you're hired. Just come meet the boss. So I went down and I met Steven. He was 27. We had 11 people. And I was there 18 years. I was the president the last 6 years I was there. And we had over 125 people when I left.
Oh my goodness. So if we always ask this and I don't want to assume anything, if there was a one big wow moment that just accelerate your career, was Abood that wow moment?
Well, she definitely gave me the start, but I wouldn't be sitting where I am today without Steven.
Right.
So Steven there was no glass ceiling. So anything I wanted to try, he said, go for it. There was no obstacle. He said, what do you need from me for you to get there? I remember one day I said, we had, you remember the RTC days, the listeners probably don't, but it was when all the savings and loan banks went under. We had overnight 15 shopping centers I was leasing, but they were all DREC, like D and F level. Like I had one center it was completely empty. It was about 40,000 square feet. And there's one tenant called the Thirsty Camel, and it was a bar. Those are the types of centers. Like now, I learned a lot because I had to lease the DREC, but I remember going into his office one day saying, I want to lease a public center. And he goes, great, go get one. I go, well, how do I do that? And he said, okay, here's some of my ideas. And that's what, and every time I want to sell a shopping center. He goes, great, go for it. So he just, if I wanted to try it, he was all in and he would help me in any way. And, I'm here today because of him.
Oh, that's awesome. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to ask Beth some serious questions about the future of retail and the commercial real estate side, as well as get into the 5 factors that really drive her success, and then ask some crazy questions to get to know a little better. So hold on. We'll be right back with the Massimo Show. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show, and we are back with the one and only Beth Azor. I will tell you, in retail, I've only met 2 people that have a brand, have an image, just have the persona, they just resonate, folks, and Beth happens to be one of them. So, Beth, welcome back to the Massimo Show.
Thanks, Rod.
Well, Beth, I have to ask you first. The other person I met, and her favorite color was pink, by the way, and sadly she passed away a couple of years ago, was Faith Consolo. Do you ever chance to meet Faith?
Absolutely. I would consider Faith not a great friend, but we definitely sat on many panels together with crew, and she was definitely a dynamo, and what a loss to our industry.
Yeah, you have to have shoptimism.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. So, and fashion is my passion, Rod. Fashion's my passion. So let's talk about your passions, and that being retail real estate. Beth, there's a lot of concern, a lot of writings, a lot of grumblings, a lot of forecasts, right or wrong, that retail is dead. Brick and mortar retail is dead. Every day I watch the news, which I try not to watch, by the way, but when I do see it, it's this closing. Yesterday it was Macy's closing 123 stores, I believe it was. So Beth, retail is your life. What is the future of retail, specifically the brick and mortar retail?
Well, let me just say, in response to Macy's announcement yesterday, Sephora announced they're opening 100 new stores. So for every store, so what I say is retail's not dead, but bad retail's dead. So Macy's, bad retail. Sephora, great retail. So retail's not dead. I like to throw around the stat that I think there's $5.4 trillion of retail sales revenue in 2019, and 7% of that is online retail, Rod. Guess what percentage was catalogs in 1960s?
In 1960, what percent was catalogs? I think it's probably double digits.
10%.
10%.
So catalogs were 10%, and no one was running around saying it's the retail apocalypse, right? So is online here to stay? Of course. But guess what? We have our dear friend in common, Gary Vaynerchuk, who we both look up to and we like. And he was on a call-in show where I bought a case of wine and I got a chance to ask him a question. And I said, Gary, all these DTC brands, direct to consumer, Bonobos, Warby Parker, Wayfair, all that, are they going to be opening more stores? And he said 100%. And I think you and I both know, we believe that Gary is a good predictor of trends.
Yep.
He says that when they go out and start raising Series C money, they're raising 30, 40, 50, 60, $80 million. They take that money and they start looking for bricks and mortar locations. So that's going to be the retail renaissance. You're going to see more. There's a group called the Fifth Wall, which is a private equity fund who's the group that gives these kind of monies to these direct-to-consumer retailers. They predict that in the next year, 850 bricks and mortar locations will be opened by direct-to-consumer brands. 850.
Yeah.
When I talk to my friends who are in retail tenant rep these days, they're kind of down in the mouth and they're like, gosh, there's no more rollouts. Where were the rollouts of the 80s and 90s? And I challenge them, have you gone to meet with the direct-to-consumer brands? Because they're going to start rolling out. Now, maybe they won't roll out with 20, 30 at a time. Maybe they'll roll out with 4. They'll dip their toe in the water. But there are many direct-to-consumer brands that are opening now hundreds of locations. So that's the first thing is there's a new sheriff in town. It's called the direct-to-consumer brands. And if there are retail tenant rep brokers out there that are looking for something to do, I highly recommend that they go try to create relationships with those guys because they will be opening more bricks and mortar. With shopping centers, I own small unanchored shopping centers. I have one grocery anchored shopping center, and the tenants that are filling our centers these days are the 4 new F words. And don't worry, I know this is a family show, but are food, fun, fitness, and then go with me here, physicians.
Okay.
So it's medical, it's fun, like bounce house, the competitive socializing. JLL wrote a report that the millennials, they still like to go out, but when they go out, they like competitive socializing. So escape rooms, barcades, axe throwing, top golf. So this is a new wave of fun, competitive socializing where you can go out with your friends and compete with them and have fun and play a game. We know about physicians. We certainly know about food. In 2015 was the first year in our history of our world in the US that dining out exceeded grocery sales for the home, which is why you see in my world, I started in 1986. You would never have more than 10 or 15% of your shopping center GLA be food.
Right.
Now it's 50%. So, so food, fun, and then fitness. I'm sure, I know you love to run. I'm sure in North Carolina, in every little shopping center that you drive by, you see a boutique fitness concept.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Pure Barre, Soul Cycle, pole dancing, whatever it is. So fitness and health has become, at the top of most people's, goals. And there's still larger gyms opening too, but this whole spin-off to do the smaller units, the fitness boutiques. So those are the concepts that are filling our shopping centers today. Yes, we no longer have clothing boutiques and shoe stores and retail, pure retail, because if that becomes a commodity, the pure retail play, they can get that on Amazon and get it delivered. But the experience, going out to eat with your kids or your spouse or your girlfriend or your friends, going and having fun, axe throwing. Let's see what that's all about. Top golf. You can't do that online. You can. I was sick during the holidays and I actually did a video doc, but guess what? 10 days later, when I wasn't feeling better, I actually went into the urgent care. So physicians kind of still need to go in. And then fitness. If you want to, you can do fitness at home in front of your computer, but people want an opportunity to get out and socialize with others. Mark Wahlberg's behind this F45 concept, and he's got, ads every time I turn around on Facebook showing him working out with 20, 30, 40 people at F45.
Love it. I love it. And folks, so insightful. Beth, thank you. Okay, Beth, it's time for 5 factors of success in 5 minutes. We're going to time it, and I know you're going to make it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? I got my little stopwatch here. Go. Prospecting. How do you and/or your team prospect?
I canvass every week, every Tuesday, 1 to 4, 30 business cards or 3 hours, whichever comes first. And I do about 300 Facebook prospectings every week.
Tell me, expand on Facebook prospectings. What do you mean?
So I create a targeted list. So I want barbers. So last night from 10:30 to 11, while I'm watching Netflix, I went to the text portion on the Facebook and DM'd 10 barbers in Fort Lauderdale. 4 responded, 3 said no thank you, and 1 said, where are your shopping centers? And we have a showing on Friday.
That's awesome. Okay, marketing. What do you do to market yourself, your firm, your brand?
So I put out a lot of content on LinkedIn. I started Instagram a year ago. I do some Facebook. I do run print ads in shopping centers today because the executives of the big companies who might want to hire me to come teach their leasing team, they're still reading those magazines. They're not on social. So it's very important for me to say, okay, what am I marketing? Who's my client? And where can I reach them? And so it's different. So when I want to reach the leasing agents, they're on Instagram or on LinkedIn. If I want to reach the principals, they're still flipping through those magazines on airplanes.
Awesome. Knowing what your target audience is and defining a message for them, that is fantastic. Okay, your people, your team, how many are on your team? Is it virtual? Is it full-time? Is it integrated? Tell me about the team.
Josie's been with me 15 years. She's my executive assistant / director of operations. I would not be able to do one thing without her. So I pay her a lot of money. I love her. Kara is my leasing agent. She started as an intern 2 years ago, and now she's full-time. Frederick is my property manager. He started last December. He was part-time for 6 months. Now he's full-time. And Marie is a part-time bookkeeper. All of them are live and in person that come into my office.
So who markets for you?
Me, and me.
Really?
No marketing. Sometimes I will hire certain agencies, like try to do some Facebook advertising, but all my content, I do have a social media woman who is part-time. She does about 10 hours a week, Pam. She does not come into the office, but she is local in South Florida. So she does postings for me. So she'll take, if we do a video at an event, she'll cut it up and do like some editing and clipping and then posting it in different places. So I do have Pam as well.
Fantastic. How about platforms, technology that you rely on?
For our properties, we have Rent Manager, and for our CRM, we have Pipedrive. I am not a member of CoStar or LinkedIn for what we do. We don't need it.
Okay. Mac or PC?
PC.
PC. She's like me. Okay.
I'm old. We're old.
And last but not least, take us to the day of Beth Azor, single mother, 2 kids, amazing career. What time you get up? Take us to the day. What time you go to bed?
5:30, get up, try to do 45 minutes of the miracle morning. I make breakfast for my 16-year-old. Usually it's scrambled eggs, yogurt, fresh fruit. Wake him up at 6:30. I have coffee. I walk the dog. I get my 3 newspapers that I like to read every day. I take him. We leave the house at 7. He usually drives at this point because he just got his temp permit license. So he'll drive. I'll drop him off at the bus because he goes to a college prep school 40 minutes from our house because he plays on their golf team. I go 3 days a week. I leave the bus and go to my personal trainer where I work out with an hour. The mornings I don't have him, I go back to the house. After training, I rush home, shower, and usually either go to showings, meetings, or go to the office. The mornings I don't have the gym, I go home and I do Facebook prospecting before I jump in the shower and get to the office or go to the showings. I try to do business between the hours of, let's say, 10 and 4. Usually try to have 3 networking lunches a week or showings or something to move the business ahead. I probably am on 3 podcasts a week. But I have 13 vacancies currently, so I have a goal that I'm going to lease 10 spaces in 90 days, and you can't lease space if you don't show space. So we're on a big goal to show about 5 spaces a week. So I want to have at least 1 showing every week that I'm going to. I pick Mario up at 4:30 from the bus, and then I go home and it's Mario and mom time. And Alex is 19. He is a rapper with 30 million downloads. Blonde hair, blue-eyed rapper, and he also works at the Lego store at Sawgrass Mills Mall, and he is the #1 salesperson in the Southeast. And I usually, sometimes we'll go out to eat, sometimes I'll cook. We probably go out to eat or order in 4 nights a week, and then I cook maybe 2 or 3. And then last night I threw the football in the backyard with my son, Mario. Some nights we'll go to movies, some nights we'll watch Netflix. At 11 o'clock, usually lights are out after I put the top 3 important things I want to get done the next day in my Outlook calendar on my phone. And then lights out.
Absolutely incredible. Wow. What a full day, a scheduled day, a structured week. And that's why you can get done as much as you get done. Beth, if you were to share with the audience, give me 2 things to finish this off that you said, Rod, the basis for my success, if I had 2 pillars, it'd be these 2. What 2 would they be?
The basic of my success is work ethic. I've outworked everyone in every position I've ever been in. I believe it's the only thing you can control. You can't control a client. You can't control the economy. You can't control tenants, but you can control your work ethic. So every time Kara gets upset that she loses a deal, I always go back to where's your pipeline? And your pipeline comes from your work ethic. So last night from 10:30 to 11, I Facebooked 10 barbers. So I don't think she was doing that at 10:30 to 11. So work ethic, that has been a key. And then market information. It shocks me how lack of knowledge has stopped people in getting the best prices, the best rents. One of my biggest successes, and for a topic for another podcast, when I bought a strip club and made it into a strip center. I competed with bigger, smarter companies, and I won because I was able to pay. I offered 3.4, and everyone else was at 3.1. This is for 2 acres. The reason I knew I could pay 3.4 is because I knew that AT&T had paid on a renewal across the street for 5,000 square feet, $50 a square foot. And my competition was underwriting the land and a potential strip center at 40 in rent. And I was underwriting it at 50, knowing I could probably get in the 60s, which I did. And it shocks me every day, year after year, when I'm talking to people and they have zero understanding of market information and market comps, especially the veterans. They rest on their laurels, and I don't do that. We update our market studies twice a year for every shopping center, and every time I do that, I learn something new. So market information and work ethic.
Incredible. And yes, congratulations, because you have proven that you are head and heels above your competition and you dominate your landscape. So congratulations. Beth, it's our honor and privilege to have you as part of the Massimo Show. I know we've spoken more virtually than directly, but I'm so just pumped that we had a chance to correspond and engage today. Folks, it's the one and only Beth Azor. And Beth, before we let you leave though, tell us about your books and tell us about your courses. How do people get in contact with you?
So LinkedIn or bethazor.com are the two easiest ways. Beth@azoradvisoryservices.com. Email. I'm very, very responsive on email. I have two books. One's called Don't Say No for the Prospect. And basically it's a bunch of stories on how I said no for the prospect and shouldn't have, and learned my lessons. And they're funny. And if you're in leasing, you'll get a kick out of them. That book came out at the end of last year, and then the book that came out a month ago is called The Retail Leasing Playbook. That's the A to Z on how to be a retail leasing agent, and they're both available on Amazon. I'm excited for your book coming out soon, Knowing Isn't Doing. I can't wait, Rod. When am I getting my copy?
Your copy is actually, and it sounds, if you read your email this morning, it's actually in the mail right now. So
okay,
there you
awesome.
go.
I'm excited. And then I do have workshops for companies that if they have retail leasing teams, they can hire me to come train their leasing agents. And what we do is we have a classroom for 3 or 4 hours, and then we literally hit the ground running. We go out and canvas. I take them by the hand rod and we go into stores, and that's transformational because as much as people say they prospect or canvas, they don't. And I show them how easy it is, and it changes their life because it's fun. And that's how you get deals. You got to talk to people. So they can reach me. Like I said, bethazor.com is the website.
Perfect. Beth, thank you so much for your time today and your sharing. And folks, the always says, Beth just said it. She shared you a lot of information, and now you know it, but it doesn't matter. You got to do it. Until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show.